Okay, this is my on-call notebook. So first we have my statement. It says all of the activities included in this on-call notebook are suitable for any individual requiring treatment. Any individual, despite race, socioeconomic status, gender, or pre-injury education, can engage with the task available within this binder. None of the activities contain gender or cultural biases, making them appropriate for any client. All activities address the specific cognitive functions required within each domain without containing cultural/holiday themes, which may skew their appropriateness. None of the activities are specific to males versus females or individuals from specific regions of the country or world. The only factor that may prevent an individual from completing an activity presented to them from this resource is severity of injury, and in that case, we adapt our activity to the individual's needs. So my first cognitive domain is attention, and for assessments, I have the child making assessment, and I also have this Moss attention rating scale. So a few of my activities aren't necessarily on the go, so they are flagged with these green because they might require additional stimuli. However, I felt like the activities were good and I still wanted to put them in here just, as an additional resource, but I still have the required amount for each domain. So these are all for auditory attention. There's different levels, 1 through 5, obviously in order of severity. This is called the shell game. The orange are activities that I flagged for a severely impaired patient. I flagged this because as far as attention goes, the glasses are clear and the marbles underneath, so they can still see the marbles, so they're not necessarily being hidden from the marbles. So I felt like it might be appropriate, and it was, a little bit more fun for attention. They just had to focus on it and actually watch a marble while it was there. As far as an on-the-go activity that I flagged, I did this counting one because it's very simple. 1, 2. You have the visual cues here. You can use, like I'm doing right now, like the physical cues and stuff. Some other counting activities. So a lot of my activities are multiples, but they're for different difficulties. So they get a little bit harder. This one counts to 100. Got some games that require playing cards, divided attention, numbers, drawing the lines of numbers to the letters. This, again, needs additional stimuli. An I Spy game, so I put this with attention rather than visual spatial because I feel like it's more about attending to the picture than it is, visually scanning because we don't have a list of what is to be found. This is find the differences. There's a few different ones. Got Sudoku. Alphabet matching, so you would find a newspaper or anything with words in it, and they have to find words begin with the letters. A few different word searches. Like I said, there's different, so they get a little bit harder. Color copy challenge, so you just color or copy the colors in order. Some different mazes. There's a few of them. And then the Einstein puzzle. The easy level and the hard. My next domain is executive functioning. For the assessment, I have the RIPA G2. Medical information, I felt like this was super important to have. And it's one of those things, once they have it filled out, they can keep it with them. Almost as like a prompt for themselves if they ever need it. I flagged this for a severely impaired patient. The words are very big. The lines are very big. It's very cut and dry. First name, last name, address, city. The other side is state, zip code, phone number, birthday. I mean, these are very important things for an individual to have. And again, it's something they could keep with them. We could fill it out with them. It could be adjusted depending on their severity level. So I felt like that was important. This is writing. It's math and writing. So it's balancing a checkbook, writing checks, addressing envelopes. So it's all in here, but, they're given bills and they got to, write the check, balance the checkbook. Functional skills, so we're all the steps needed to cook these things. Sequencing, describing how you would do the following tasks. So daily skills, doing the laundry, rake the leaves, changing a light bulb. There's quite a few of them as well. Using the TV schedule to plan, what you're going to watch that night. And did I say this is executive functioning? Yeah, I did. Okay. Monthly calendar. These are safety. I felt like these are very important too. What should you do if you fall in your basement, etc. This one's a little bit different, same kind of concept though. These are the same as what was previously what's here, but they're cards, so it's just a little bit, visually it's easier. You can show them one card at a time. We have some anagrams, ordering lists, just lots of different, we're adding it up again with like the math. This is functional math for grocery shopping. I thought this was fun. I feel like it could be adjusted. It says to like go to the pharmacy, but I feel like it could be adjusted with getting a pharmacy ad and looking for the different things in there. This is writing notes to people, which is also important. The next section is memory, and for the assessments I have the slums. I have a memory impairment screen and test your memory. We have recalling story material. Again, I would need a story. Recall pictures and places. I flagged this activity because I have other activities that need a deck of cards, so I would probably already have them with me. This is very simple. You're placing the two cards from a different deck face up. They look at it, flip it over, point to the ace. It's just a field of two, so it's fairly simple. And I mean, if it was still very difficult for them, we can always reduce it to a field of one. It could definitely be adjusted. This is many different lists. It's a bigger one, a few pages, for, memory, remembering things. Word list retention. You can ask, it also includes a question. We have memory for numbers and sequences. The association, so even though they're not together, they have to remember the association. Obviously, fish and tent don't go together, but they are using their memory to do that. This is a sorting and remembering, so, they would sort them into categories in order as like a strategy to remember what's here. Just describing pictures, recalling visual details. There's multiple pictures in here. You can kind of see the back of it. This is a memory game. You answer the questions about yourself, and then would have your communication partner do the same, and then they have to remember how much again. I put this in here with memory because, we're remembering what everything is called for the kitchen. Again, with the bathroom. We're listing animals by their first letter, and these ones are nice. They tell you long-term working, executive functioning, but I put it with memory. Again, with the colors, and again with fruits and vegetables. Some activities for long-term memory and working memory. Naming some presidents. Putting these in order so they get a little bit harder, so I put them in the back. The next one is orientation. I have the orientation log that you had shared. These are time sense, so your sense of time. This is a little packet. There's different levels for orientation tools, so I felt like this was very useful. I flagged this activity because you will see on the next one, this is a daily schedule that goes with it, so it's still on the go. So you're just filling it out with them. It's important for them to have, and it could definitely be adjusted because it could be as simple as you telling them exactly what needs to be done at each part of the day, and then they have that visual with them, which is right here. I put this with orientation because it's knowing the weather that week, so oriented to, what the season is, stuff like that. Lots of clocks in orientation, so drawing the time. Drawing the time based upon what time you would do something throughout the day. Answering the following questions about time. I put this in here may not, obviously, adults might not be going to school, but we can still talk about when kids may go to school. It's something that they may be able to be familiar with, especially if they were a parent and they had to previously work on their kids' schedule. So we want to orient them to, what time of day these things might have been done. Some more orientation questions, more personal. This is discussing calendars. Again, with time, this is reading the clocks rather than writing the clocks, which I think is important. Not many individuals that are older would be reading. I mean, they might have digital clocks, but this might be easier for them what they're used to. Understanding temporal landmarks. Our next section is visual spatial. So I have every version of the MoCA. We've got the newest version, 8.1. I've got the basic version. I've got the original, 7.2 and 7.3 in here. We've got them all. Figured why not. I also put this mini cog in here for visual spatial. It has the second page has a huge clock drawing activity. Visual spatial. Many of these activities, although they're flagged with the green marker because they require additional stimuli, most of them just require a piece of paper and pen. So I felt like they were still appropriate and they were still on the go, which is why I flagged this one. It's very simple. You're just drawing different shapes on paper. You just have them copy the shape. This one, you don't really need anything. You're just asking the individual to raise or point to his or her left, so they don't really need anything. You can provide them with a lot of assistance if that's necessary. You have drawing figurines, two-dimensional arrays, spatial centering, spatial awareness, following the directions. This was good. They would have to look all over for whatever you pointed out. I love these tracking activities. So this one, it's a little difficult. They're all stars, so they were tracking just the red ones, and it's teaching them to draw a line, circle, and like physically tracking. So you're using that physical prompt of drawing the line and moving the pen across the paper to make sure we're looking all the way across. Same concept. We are looking specifically for the yellow smiley faces. So where we've got two kinds of smiley faces and two kinds of circles, we are looking for the circle yellow smiley face. And these are cool because once you're done, the other page has like a hidden message. So I thought they were fun. This also could have been in memory, but I liked it better for visual spatial. We're copying the image above into the grid below. So that is all included in here. So all I would need was like a marker or a pen, and I probably have that. I'm one of those people that have a huge bag everywhere. This is another tracking activity, but this time we're tracking the ABCs in order. So it's a little more difficult than just tracking the star, just tracking the smiley face, tracking the ABCs. And I have it in 3 different difficulties. So this would be the easiest, the biggest letters. And then the letters get a little bit smaller. And there's more of them. And then finally, they're pretty tiny. So obviously more difficult. And there's more of them again. I like the monkeys. They kind of seem mischievous. And then I have connect the dots. And I have 3 different, they get harder. So this one only has 10 dots. Very big dots. Easier to see. I had one in between, but I couldn't get it to print. This one has 55 dots, so it kind of jumps. Like I said, I had a simpler one to put in between, but it wouldn't print, and I got frustrated. So 55 dots, obviously a lot harder than 10. Smaller dots, more distributed, and then this is even more difficult. It has 70 dots. So our horse in the desert. And then this last section, I forgot to put a tab in it. This is where I have all my articles, and I also included some other resources for this section. So my prevention articles, this one's preventing the loss of independence through exercise, which I thought was super cool. It gives me a reason to exercise now. Prevention of TBI, prevention of cognitive impairment in midlife women, so like menopause age. This one's for dementia. I forgot what I was saying. Prevention of dementia across decades. Another exercise one for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. This one is prevention of stroke, which I think is good because it's the stroke rate is very, very high. And then these were those other resources I was talking about. So I had found these in, they were appendixes in a very large document. I had found that it was the one that had, gave the different levels of activities. And I just thought that they were beneficial, so to keep them with me. Where else to go for help, depending on stuff. This is following instructions. It gave different levels, answering yes, no questions. It's a little bit thicker. This appendix, it goes into like answering WH questions and stuff. So this, could probably even be used across the board with many clients, not necessarily just cognitive therapy clients. And then I like this. It was suggestions for students with apraxia or severe incoordination. So it just gives you some suggestions on, manipulating the tasks and adjusting them dependent upon the individual's abilities. And sometimes, we can't think of how we can do it. And I felt like this was important. It helped me along. Again, adjusting things for visual impairments as well as hearing impairments. This was specifically for individuals who have motor speech disorders. I liked these, some definitions and stuff. Some helpful tips about the use of distractions. I would originally have thought distractions would be bad. However, I read here that they should be introduced because, we have distractions everyday life. It makes a lot of sense. And then I loved this. It was different games. And let me see if I can pull this out. It's a list of games. And card games, like what each types of games could address, which is important because games can be, manipulated easily and across the board, especially with younger clients. They love their video games, and we can use that to our advantage. And older clients, board games. I'm a board game lover. And I loved this. So it had a whole bunch of games. Most of them I have heard of. Some of them I've not, but I'm sure Google has. And letter codes. So it says what they address. So attention and concentration, memory, reasoning, visual, spatial, language, speed of processing, academic skills, specifically reading, arithmetic, and fine motor skills. So I thought this was awesome. And that concludes my on-call notebook.